So when you hear the sound at 6 p.m. on Sundays, you know Sports Ultras is coming your way, and the guests are already seated in the studio. It's always a regular panel, but your host has changed. My name is Yao Ofosulabi, and I am going to be taking you through from now up until 7:30 p.m. There's quite a lineup, though. We'll be talking about the Black Queens, the Ghana Premier League, and we'll also touch base with the foreign leagues. And the North London Derby happened today, and there was a stalemate, quite an impressive game, really. And then there was a harvest of goals in Sheffield, where Newcastle United went there and had no regard for protocol and beat them by 8-0. So the Black Queens last week, they also defeated their Rwandan counterparts by a heavy margin. And just before I walked into the studio, I was at the Accra City Hotel, and the Rwandans have already touched down, and they are getting into their rooms, getting ready for the clash. That's the return leg of that fixture. Nora Hoptel has done an impressive job with the Black Queens. So let's begin the show. The panel is already seated. Aniela Alote is here. Kelvin Osuansan is here, as well as Ore Kwampofo. All of them seated right here in the studio. And we'll be getting the conversation started. We'll start off with the Black Queens. But before we get into the Black Queens conversation, guys, you're welcome. Aniela, let me start with you. How are you feeling?
There's nothing good about a draw.
Sorry?
There's nothing good about a draw.
You could have lost.
No, but yeah, you have to be amassing the points now, because as a Brentford, where are you going? City, and you want to go and pick up the 3 points from there. Let's be for you. But unfortunately, fortunately, I'm not like Oriku Ampofo, who has played 6 games and has only picked up 5 points and is currently lying 14th on the table.
Yeah,
I can never be that unfortunate.
Come in.
Yeah, it was a very good game to watch. Yes, for me, I am okay. I'm fine. When you see the other side of London struggling, I mean the West London. When I see them struggling, it becomes so. It's more like a party, to see 2 players with a goalkeeper, and then they'll be missing that glorious opportunity, and then they'll be wearing blue jerseys, and then they'll get red card too, Charlie.
Then their fans will be on Twitter explaining.
No evidence.
You know why?
No,
you went with PR.
It's a project. It's a project. Calm down.
Which project is that?
Oriku, how?
Did you see the building that recently collapsed there?
Ofanko.
Yeah. That is the Chelsea.
That's the project. Oh my God.
That's something.
Oriku, your initial thoughts on everything before we get into the Black Queens discussion. I know already you have been attacked.
They ask you how you are doing. You are thinking about your neighbors. If it is not obsession, I don't know what. How are you? How is your weekend? And you are talking about your neighbor. But me, I'll answer for myself. I'm very fine. Per the estimations and the calculations of where we are supposed to be in the project, I think we are okay. We are okay. We'll get there. We'll look back and laugh eventually. Right. That's the feeling I have with this Chelsea project.
Most definitely. We'll get into the main conversation pretty shortly, but don't forget this show is brought to you by Betway, and Tuesdays, Fridays and Saturdays will never be the same with Betway. Now get cash rewards, free bets, free spins, and more with deposits on Top Up Tuesday. Now log in on Fridays with a chance to get free bets, free spins, and more. And every Saturday, get boosted odds across the most popular bet types on the weekend's big fixture. Now only at betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Not for persons under 18 years. Betway gets way more. And also some more. And Jatanwa Landio Yalande, and the best online betting platform, offering you a variety of games ranging from sports, casino, virtuals, and your favorite aviator is here, and it's all on Pride Bets. Now take a chance with daily, weekly, and monthly jackpots with up to 11 million Ghana cedis to be won. Now you could also play our free to play games and win up to 50,000 Ghana cedis every day. And yes, it is free to play. Visit pridebets.com.gh to make your first deposits and enjoy are 100% up to 500 Ghana cedis welcome offer. Brian Diagro our Pride Bet. Pride Bet, together we play, regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. And so that's it there. And the Pride Bets and also Betway, all of them supporting us to bring you Sports Ultras at this moment there. But Kelvin, let's just talk about the Black Queens a bit. I mean, impressive performance against Rwanda, and they play Rwanda again in Accra.
Yes, I think it was a massive performance, and credit to Nora Hoptel and her ladies. You know, I think it's been incredible how the Black Queens' fortunes have overturned. It's not surprising to see the Black Queens defeat a nation like the Shia Mavubi of Rwanda, but the manner, the fashion in which they defeated them is what is actually creditable. You know, there are times that you see the Black Queens win, but they struggle. About 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, but in the last year or in the last 10 months, we've seen some massive transformation. You can see there's a clear pattern of play for the Black Queens, and she's not just calling any player, she's calling players who can play, who can actually do the job, whether the player is from the Black Princesses or from the Black Maidens or a senior player who can work the magic out. She's using players who are actively playing and getting her the result.
Is it also a case of the fact that she's been allowed to do her job?
Exactly, because you know, when you look at things, I think they don't care about the Black Queens. You know,
like that.
Yes, they may care, but they don't show that sort of obsession with the Black Stars like they do with the Black Queens. So let's leave Nora Hoptel to do her job, and she's equally doing it creditably well. And I think looking at what she's done in the last couple of months, I think she's really done a great job. And the players, gone are the days when you see the big names will come in and then they think they can overpower their coaches. Come on, this is a coach who has actually stamped their authority on every single bit of detail that happens with the team. And I think I'm highly impressed. Hopefully when we meet the big gangs like the Bayana and then the Super Falcons, we'll be able to continue on that trajectory. But I think we should credit them to defeat a nation by 7 goals to 0 in current football terms, where no nation can be deemed as an underdog. We also how Zambia managed to qualify for the Women's World Cup. So let's give a thumbs up to the team, and I think she has an equally balanced team. Everyone is scoring. It's from defense to midfield to attack. Every single player is getting, or department is getting goals, and I think that is good for the team, that the goals are not limited to just one particular person.
Well, and you heard that from Kelvin Owusu-Ansah. We'll be getting into a monologue pretty shortly with Ore Kwampof, who's going to take us through just what Nora Hoptel has been able to do with the Black Queens team and how impressive she's been. But before we get to Ore Kwampof, we'll take a break here on Sports Ultras. We are back shortly.
Play for fun, enjoy the game. Join today on a bonus penny. Come together, make we play. Games are hold pay attention. And better correct us, quick cash out, free bonus. Correct us, quick cash out, free bonus. Redman.com. Redman.com.
Together we play. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gaming can be addictive.
Right, so we're back here on Sports Ultras right here on 3FM 92.7. That's actually a really danceable tune in that Pride Bets ad there. Pride Bets, thank you very much for supporting us here on Sports Ultras, and also to Betway as well for supporting us. So now let's get to our resident statistician, and the man is going to give us something on Nora Hoptel and just how impressive she has been as Black Queens coach. Oreku, take us away.
Well, thank you very much, Yao. And so we'll be touching on Swiss coach Nora Hoptel, who, you know, everyone has fallen in love with her since she took over the Black Queens job. It's a difficult job, especially when you consider the circumstance in which, you know, she picked up the job and the attractiveness of the team at the point that she picked up the Black Queens. Things were tough and weren't looking too bright for the Black Queens. But there's been a quick turnaround. It's just been 6 games. And so we'll just be putting her tenure under the microscope in the next few minutes. And let me just, you know, take you through how the Black Queens have looked before Nora Hapto took charge. Just some 2 quick stats. The team hasn't qualified for the World Cup since 2007, and then they've also not qualified for the last Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Prior to that Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, Ghana actually hosted it in 2018 and didn't go past the group stages. So once again, we've seen a massive decline in the sports, and it's actually been coming. We've seen signs not going past the group stages in AFCON and now not qualifying. And just to show you the magnitude of how big these two failings are, you take a look at the World Cup, for instance, where between 1999 and 2007, we qualified for 3 World Cups, and we're actually one of the top dogs in Africa, because if you're looking at between 1995 and 2006, all the Africa Cup of Nations that took place, Ghana went to the semi-finals of each of them. Remember, it was 2 years. And so those are a number of competitions that Ghana consistently were finishing in the final 4 of the competition. Now, even if you go further, there were 3 times that Ghana actually finished as runner-up in that same time belt. And if it wasn't for Nigeria, who Ghana lost to on 3 occasions in the final, the Black Queens could have possibly had 3 AFCON titles. But it's a case of what could have been. But it still shows you how much of a big side they were and how close they were to the top. Probably if you take out Nigeria, it was the Queens who were next in line about 10, 12 years ago. But this was the situation. Things had fallen. It had become really bad under the Black Queens. But since Nora Hapto took charge, it's been 6 games, 6 wins, 21 goals scored, and interestingly, 0 goals conceded. Now, there's a lot of talk about how many goals the team is scoring, but emphasis really is on the number of goals that they've conceded. And to keep clean sheets in 6 games, I think is really massive, because if you look at their final game before Hapto took charge, that was Messi Tego taking place, leading the team against Morocco in that 2-0 loss. There were so many spaces in the defense of the Black Queens, and perhaps I think that was the final nail in their coffin, that the performance was just too bad, where they allowed their opponents too much time and space on the ball. And we've seen a quick transformation. Perhaps that could be with the fact that Nora herself was a defender during her days, and so emphasis is on defense first. Hence why we're not seeing the team concede a number of goals. And it's even beyond that, because if you watch their games, they barely allow any chances to their opponents, where they press so high up the pitch, they work very hard off the ball, and so they barely even concede chances or touches inside their own penalty boxes. So what has been the key behind such a high turn in performances in such a short spell? What has she been doing right? And so just a few pointers, about 5 of them. I spoke to people close to the team, some players of the Black Queens, and some technical handlers as well. And the first point has been the importance that has been attached to scouting. It's almost similar to what we've seen with the Black Stars, where Chris Hughton and George Boateng and Masudi Didi Dramani have been going across Europe and Africa to watch their players live in action. We've seen a similar step taken by the Black Queens, where Nora has been visiting the players at their various clubs just to get an understanding of where they are, their environment. And it does help with regards to motivation and the importance that these players feel when you see your coach in the stands watching you and all that. And then there's the second point, where there's the right mix of youth and experience, where you're looking at a team where there's still that core from the Black Queens. You're looking at Janet Ejiri, Linda Sean, and then the likes of Evelyn Bedu, who have now come in, Doris Bedua, Stella Nyamiche, who started at the under-20 WAFU here in Ghana. There's that feeling that if you work hard, you get into the team. And even Linda Sean herself, despite her experience, she's not starting games and didn't even play against Rwanda. And so it's not necessarily that the fact that you are the older player, you have to start the game. It's about who is on form, who is playing well. That's why you're seeing young players like Evelyn Bedu, Doris Bedua dominate and start games even though they are really young. I remember speaking to the Black Queens goalkeeper, Cynthia Conlan, where she said that Nora has ensured that the team feels like a family where the older players welcome the young ones and treat them as if they are age mates, and it helps with settling and bonding within the team. And you can see that even on the pitch, how they relate to each other. Everyone seems happy and smiling within the Black Queens camp. And then if you take a look at this picture at the bottom left, that's the technical team of the Black Queens. I don't think we've seen such a beefed up technical team for the Black Queens in a very long time, or as long as I can remember, where Nora has a lot of support. She has a fitness coach. She also has a video analyst, a physiotherapist. And so the Black Queens are actually getting high-level treatment and are not often we do see them being neglected, but there's been a lot of investment with the equipment that they use to train, to be able to watch training back and correct some of their wrongs and all that. So it's a really heavily invested technical team that they are able to analyze games and improve upon what they do in each game. That's why every game seems to look like they are going to the next level. And then you also look at the picture at the top left where she's communicating with the players here in the Rwanda game, and she's using a tactical board. That's one of the things that I noticed in her 6 matches. Anytime the ball goes out of play, there's an injury, any small stoppage, she always wants to communicate to the tactical board. Perhaps she's realized that a lot of the players that we have are visual communicators and would be able to understand the tactics better when they see it in motion. And so that's one thing that she's deployed, and we're seeing now under her tenure. And then the final point, she demands a lot from her players and won't compromise. Now, this is coming from some Black Queens players that I spoke to, where if she says this game, we have to work the ball to the right and cross, you have to do it. If you do it 7 times and it doesn't fail, she's going to encourage you to keep on doing it. And that's the type of coach that she is. If you look at some of her post-match conferences, even in games where they score 5 goals, 6 goals, she's always saying that, look, we need to make sure that we take our chances and score a lot more. And so it just tells you, it gives you an idea of the type of coach you're dealing with. She's a perfectionist, always wants to make sure that she is getting the maximum from her players. And we're seeing that. The players running a lot more. They're a lot fitter now. Perhaps that could come from the fact that in the early days of her coaching reign in Switzerland, she actually did work as a conditioning coach for a tennis player. And so she may have kept or picked up some tricks in terms of conditioning for the player. So I think this is the fittest that we've seen the Black Queens, and everything just looks stable and running smoothly at the moment. But there's still a lot of games left to play. There's still a lot of work to be done. If you look at the first point in terms of what next for Nora Hoptail, there's the Olympic Games qualification. Ghana has never qualified for the Olympic Games. Can she become the first coach to do that? Because that's how you have impact. 6 games, yeah, it's cool. But what can she achieve in terms of tangible, achievements and feats? That, I think, would be the first on her list. If she becomes the first coach to lead Ghana to the Olympic Games, that's in Paris next year, then people would remember her, and it would be justified to be able to sing praises for her. The next up for her would probably be the AFCON qualification, which has started really well against Rwanda, 7 goals in the lead, would most probably go to the next round and face the winner of the Namibia-Gambia. If the Black Queens win that match, then they go to the AFCON, which would be a return to the competition that they missed out on the previous edition in Morocco. It would be in Morocco in 2024. And if they do have World Cup qualification ambitions, then they have to qualify for the AFCON, because now under the new format, we know that the first 4 in the AFCON qualify for the World Cup. And so, the World Cup would depend on how the team fares at the AFCON. But first, they have to qualify first. And then the final one is the 2023 African Games, which Ghana is privileged of hosting next year. And the team would be looking to build on what they did some 8 years ago, which was the last time they participated in the competition, because they actually won it, which was the end to what had been a good progression, because 2 editions before that one, Ghana finished 3rd. The edition before the one they won, they finished as runners-up, and then they capped it off by winning in 2015. And so there would be pressure because Ghana are hosting, and the last time they participated, they won it. So I think that last point of the African Games would be the highest pressure moment for Nora Hoptail next year, where they don't have to play qualifiers, they've already qualified. But can they repeat the feat of 2015? So a lot of good job done so far, but there's still a lot of ahead for Nora Hapto. She's done well. There's been talks about the teams that she's faced. It's just been Benin, Guinea, Senegal, Rwanda. But I think you can only beat what's in front of you. The next few months will be really important in terms of achieving, some of these targets that I just laid out.
Right. Oreku Ampo for there, giving us just what we need to know about Nora Hapto. But that was an impressive presentation there. Aniela, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, very, very, very impressive. Yeah, I just wanted to say that, even just going by yesterday morning on Warmer Plus when we had Celebrity Teacher and we had Abu Jamal, who is a member of the Women's Super Cup Committee, you could tell that there was a lot of hope when it comes to women's football. And I think that belief is starting up again because of some of the things that Nora has been able to do. And again, as Kelvin mentioned, we're seeing that she has a lot more room to operate. She has a lot more freedom to do just the things that she needs to. And I think that it also stems from a personal touch with the player selections and just general wellness when it comes to players' health, their performance levels. And that's obviously going to skyrocket if you are invested in the players and not just on the field, but off the field as well. And we can even see just from pictures, and pictures never tell the full story, but even just from the pictures alone, we're able to tell that this is something that's really happening. A good side. Look at how many goals are scored. When Kelvin ended his submission with the number, it just took me back to Newcastle from just a few minutes ago. That's what we want to see. We want to see a lot of goals being scored because that's how you know that there's progress. You're not just trying to, score a goal or two in there and then just go through. If you can score 7, if you can score 8, by all means, go ahead, do that, put some fear in some of your opponents, and then you move on from there. So I think it's really good work being done. And just across board, a lot of hope for women in Ghana when it comes to football.
Well, definitely. You heard that from Aniela Alote as well, talking about Black Queens head coach Nora Hapto. And you can send us your comments there on Facebook. You can find us. We are 3Sports GH, and you can find the link and watch us live. It's an interactive show, so just keep your comments coming in. I'll be reading your comments as and when we get them. Also, follow us on Twitter at 3Sports GH. Also on Instagram is 3Sports GH. Just follow us and get all your updates and everything in there as well. Now, let's move away from the Black Queens and head to the Ghana Premier League. Kelvin, just take us to this weekend's Ghana Premier League fixtures and then your pick of the bunch.
Well, I think my pick of it all was the Bufakwa Tano game that was played on Friday. Yes, they returned to the Premier League after 16 years. Yeah, one of the traditional clubs came and then they scored the first goal. RTU equalized, and then right on the 89th minute they got a penalty to convert and then get a 2-1 result, and it was just an impressive result from that particular game. And I think gradually we are getting to see some of the old faces in the league, and it's whipping up the interest because you look at the numbers in there from a traditional team like Bufakwa Tano playing against RTU. Ordinarily, it's one of the top games you would want to see every time in Ghana's top division. So I was very much impressed with that. And on Saturday, Bibiani Gold Stars, yes, they're also one of the traditional teams in the western side. The club is well catered for by the people through their mining activities and also what we call their logging activities by making sure they feed the club with it. And I think it was their first win ever since they returned to the top flight, defeating Asante Kotoko by a goal to nil. It was very impressive. The game was interesting with a lot of decisions. That contentious decision of the goal Alex Asso scored. There have been several explanations, but at the end of the day, they managed to score through Prince Kwabno Usu, and then
that was some goal.
Yes, that was a very fantastic finish. And Eric Bosomcho with that match winner was just splendid. And I think it's gradually telling the rest of the top clubs that they should have reasons to recruit the best quality players, because the quality seems to be spread across, and now the clubs have the purchasing power. All the clubs have the purchasing power to recruit the very best talent to get
except Olympics.
Except
Olympics.
Oh, but okay, probably. But Olympics are decent players, but there were other results in there too. Accra House of Oak defeated in Swatraman by a lone goal to nil.
Okay. And
right on the 4th minute, it was a goal mouth melee, but they managed to convert. Bechim United Dreams FC drawing there, and then Adriana defeated Mediama SC by 2 goals to nil. I think it's something that is getting to do with.
Oreku is happy. Oreku is happy.
When I talk, people don't listen. Two games.
At the bottom, but it's 2 games.
Yes.
No,
Two games.
listen.
2 games, defending champions.
Oreku was making a submission about Nora Hapto and said, you beat what's in front of you. Mediama beats what's in front of them. And Oreku has a problem.
They should beat what's in front of them now.
Maybe at least 6-8 games into the season, and then we can have an honest conversation.
So Carolina United also defeated Recruit Chelsea 3-1. I think that's an impressive result. Hearts of Lions, they played at the Sugakope pitch, Wafa Park, and then they drew goalless with Great Olympics. So Olympics on the road secured a point. Remember their first game before Aqua drew against Olympics. So at least they haven't won a game, but they haven't lost as well. And the Nations Football Club defeated Samatex 2-0.
Amazing.
That is some good result there. But you know they have one of the best gaffers when it comes to the league, Kasim Mingelo Kansi in there. He's left Bichim and he's now with them. So I think it's quite understandable. And then Accra Lions Football Club will play Lagos Cities tomorrow. That is the final game for March week 2. So
but I mean, isn't it interesting? 2 match days, no away win.
Yes. No away win.
No perfect starts. No away win.
The Ghana Premier League is so weird to understand sometimes.
Why is it weird?
Like newly promoted sides are beating the top dogs at home. Like everyone at home is a champion. If you look at the league table and you split it into home and away, you wonder what happens to the quality when they go away, because everyone amasses so many points at home, and then the overall quality of the league table just drops when you go away. I struggle to understand. I don't know whether
maybe they're tired.
Last year
they're tired with the travel.
Last year I was really suggesting that the reasons why so many years ago, when you were getting advantages as an away side with regards to the number of points that maybe even if you draw away is considered as a win, or even if you score away there's an away goal. I think the Ghana Premier League deserves something like that, because the conditions that you go through as an away team,
I think so,
is similar to 40-50 years ago. The reasons why they brought away goals, because teams travel via bus for 12-14 hours because they can't stay in hotels. They get there on the day of the match, and then the pitches are not the best. Only the home team knows the corners and the potholes that you have to
can give you a hamstring injury, hands down.
And then the fans.
No, but you make a good point, because if you are traveling from Samatex to Nations, of course you lose the game. It's some journey. So of course you lose the game. And like you said, they don't go there 2 days prior to the game or a day prior to the game. Sometimes they get there the morning of the game and you're already tired. Right after the game, you're getting into the bus, you're heading back. Again. And I can understand why there are no away wins. So maybe that should be the consideration. I mean, I feel like maybe there should be an opportunity for an away team to get an incentive. If you draw, they get 3 points.
Go and play your game and then get your 3 points. As simple as that. If you are good, you get your 3 points. If you are not good, you may probably get a point and then you go back. Bofakwa traveled from Sunyani and then they settled for a draw against Great Olympics in their first game. So if you are good, Asante Kotoko stayed in Kumasi in their first game of the season, and it ended in a draw. Hearts of Lions traveled all the way from Pando, but Kotoko traveled to BBNE and they were beaten. I think it's all about you as a club. Prioritizing which games that you need to win. If you are playing at home and you decide to draw, if I'm playing at home, I won't draw the game. I'll win.
That's how everybody sees
exactly.
it. by ways and means. That's why the linesman will give that offside against House of Lions the first match.
But Oric raises a very important point, because you're not your rest is nil before you're even going to get into pre-training, and then by that time, like me, I just go stand the goal post.
There's not even any pre-training before the match. But Kelvin, talk to me about Kotoko. I mean, 2 match days, no wins. It's shaky.
You can mention their position on the table currently.
And I think now the team is divided. Definitely the factions from Nana and Ponce's side, and then now the new management also have this. And I think
good evening, Listowell. Good evening. Good evening to you, Listowell. If you are listening, good evening.
Too much bickering and then too many differences between the club. And I think Prosper Nateogum's recruitment wasn't for me. I don't see the quality that he's playing with. If you have a player like Rashid Note and you tell me that you cannot do with him in an Asante Kotoko team that plays someone like Shadrach Ado, and then this guy from Amas, there's this guy Dramina, and you bring someone from Wafa who is now coming to test the top flight football, and you tell me that someone like Rashid Note cannot play, it raises questions. We all know the quality of Augustine Japan. Prosper Nateogum sat down and he watched on to play with Augustine Japan this season. For me, if you are talking about proper right backs in this country, it shouldn't even be mentioned as one of the right backs. In central defense, yes, he's now playing 2 new players altogether. He had Mubarak there, they had Sharif, the 2 more Sharifs. but he's now playing Henry Ansu, and there is this other new player that he's playing. John Tedeku hasn't found his feet yet, and you ask yourself, was Tedeku one of the top left backs in the Ghana League? No. So I think, and he's also doing. He doesn't have a full, idea of his first 11.
Right.
Last week he had a different set of midfield. This weekend he played with a different set of midfield. Now he played with a different mix of attacking players. The only constant figure was, I think, Georges Mfeji.
Right.
But he brought on Carlo Ouattara, and he brought on also Stephen Dese-Mukwala. So
But
it
isn't
looks like
it because
he's
he had
tinkering.
just 2.5 weeks of preseason?
Exactly, and he's tinkering with the team. There were some coaches who equally had the same time to prepare with their clubs, but they are doing equally good works in there. So I think he hasn't really done a decent job, and the pressure on him is getting too much. But if you listen to him, he seems not perturbed after 2 games. But these are games that you'd expect Kotoko to win.
You're playing a new entrant.
If you're
Heart of
playing
Lions,
against Heart of
and you're
Lions,
playing
it's not
between-
in Pando.
Yeah.
Where you struggle is in Kumasi. But one thing that we must notice is for the last 7 games at the Barbara Sports Stadium, 5 of them have ended in draws for Asante Kotoko, and they haven't been able to win home games.
Right.
If you accumulate the games from last season, so I think it's too much tinkering with the team, and then there's too much pressure on him. So he just wants the players that he thinks are available to deliver. And I think many would also say that yes, there are so many injuries to the players. Someone like Justice Blaze, someone like Richmond Lamte in defense. That other Sharif Mohammed is also injured. Isaac Opon is now returning from injury, and a whole lot. But I think there's too much work to be done, and if he wants to really work at Kotoko, he must pull out the very best that he did. And there are times, these coaches give you an indication why club administrators decide to have their own recruitment, like what is happening at Chelsea. They are buying the players. They buy the players for the coaches because they think that they know the best. Prosper has full control of their Asante Kotoko team now, and some of the fans are not convinced with the players or the quality that he's brought at the moment. I think the earlier he starts getting the results, the better it would be for him in Kotoko. Regardless, the promise from the great king that yes, the team has been given to him to build it to become a winning side. You cannot win in Africa when you are not consistently playing in Africa. And if you are supposed to play in Africa, you must win the Ghana Premier League to play in Africa. And judging from the 2 games and the sort of performances being churned out, Kotoko cannot play in Africa if it continues like this.
Well, most definitely, you heard that from Kelvin Uswansa talking about Kotoko's problem. If you're a Kotoko fan and you're listening to us, send us a message right there on the Facebook Live that you're watching us on. It's at 3Sports GH on Facebook, 3Sports GH on Twitter, 3Sports GH on Instagram. Just keep your messages coming through. I'll read them pretty shortly for the world. But I'm just looking through the schedule at the moment, and Aniela leaves at 7. And so I just want to swap one of the topics just to hear her thoughts on that before she can go. But before we get into that, Oreku, the UEFA Champions League came back this week. Were you impressed with the level, what you saw at the games and all of that?
Well, I think it's the Champions League where we saw a number of debutants get an introduction to the competition for them to get a real understanding, and we also saw the dominant forces showing what they're made of. That's the likes of Manchester City, although they fell back, still managing to, find a way and then pick up all 3 points in that first game. Real Madrid also record winners, picking up a very important victory. Arsenal returning for the first time in 6 years ago. I think that was their best attacking display of the season.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, I don't think they've been.
Where's the enthusiasm in Oreku's tone?
Why do you need enthusiasm?
Because Oreku, when he's talking about this, he usually talks passionately. As soon as he mentions Arsenal, then it's all like
allow
Arsenal
Oreku to talk. Oreku, please continue.
Yeah, so I thought that was their best attacking display in this season. The Premier League, they've just been a bit flat, and something seems to be holding them back. But against PSV, they were really good and probably should have scored more on the day. The goals were really brilliant as well. It's a good start for them in a group where I think they should qualify by match day 4. Looking at the level of the other teams, there are Sevilla and Lens, both of them drawing out. I think that's how it would pan out. Arsenal would separate themselves from the bottom 3 who would fight for the remaining slot, and then for the Europa as well. Another key point to was the game between Lazio and Atletico Madrid, where we saw Provedel, the goalkeeper, literally get an equalizer with the header, the final kick of the game. And the movement, the finish is something that a lot of strikers can take a page out of that book. Provedel's book. If he was to write a book on scoring headers, I'd personally buy that for Nicholas Jackson. But I think that was one of the high points, seeing a goalkeeper actually score a goal in the final minutes against Atletico Madrid. And then we saw Newcastle get their baptism in the Champions League, returning for the first time more than 20 years. AC Milan probably should have won, but they held their own and got an important point away. I think overall it's been really good. With regards to the Ghana angle, we saw Osman Bukhari score at the Etihad, where he became the fifth Ghanaian to score on his Champions League debut. We saw Salih Samid also feature for Lens against Sevilla in the 1-0 draw. So I think it was a good start to the Champions League. You know how the Champions League is. It only gets better as the match days go by.
Right. So the show is Sports Ultras and is brought to you by Betway. Now, Betway says every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday will never be the same with Betway. Get cash results, free bets, free spins, and more with deposits on Top Up Tuesday. Now, log in on Fridays for a chance to get free bets, free spins, and more. And every Saturday, get boosted odds across the most popular bet types on the weekend's big fixture. It's only on betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana, not for persons under 18, and also I mentioned already, regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway says get way more on your bets. We'll take a break here on the Sports Ultras. When we're back, there's more to discuss.
Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays will never be the same with Betway. Get cash rewards, free bets, free spins, and more with deposits on Top Up Tuesdays. Log in on Fridays for a chance to get free bets, free spins, and more. And every Saturday, get boosted odds across the most popular bet types on the weekend's big fixture. Get way more at betway.com.gh. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way more.
Back, this is the Sports Ultras right here on 3FM 92.7. Aniela, let me give you a chance to talk about Arsenal in the UEFA Champions League on Tuesday.
Yeah, looking at where we're coming from and where we are on the day, where we were on the day, I think that it was a very impressive performance because we bowed out of the competition in 2017 and on aggregate it was 10-2. After that, we had fought so hard to get back in there, even when we were looking to win the Europa in 2019, and then Chelsea so graciously blocked our chances. So I think for this game, everybody was going in there looking for, at least in quotes, a convincing victory, and I think that is what was delivered. With Raya in the post, I think that most people would argue that Raya is an upgrade from Ramsdale. I'm not sure if I'm completely convinced because I want to see him in more games. But again, it comes to the debate of whether he's going to be starting or it's going to be Ramsdale, or the permanent decision has been made following the North London derby that we just watched. But I think that he was solid in the post, and it was evident in the clean sheet that he kept. But even before then, he had kept a clean sheet when we took on Everton. So that was a good one in there. But I think that for your front three to all be delivering goals is a good indication of things to come. Gabriel Jesus, we haven't really seen him in the true light of his form, because previous seasons he'll be injured for most of the season. You come in, it's one goal, everybody's like, hey, Jesus scores on Sundays, and then we go back to being dormant. But I think that we're getting to see him gel better with the team, and under the captaincy of Odegaard, there's a lot of respect from the players when it comes to him. He's able to rally up the boys and to get the results, and I think that victory over PSV was a very impressive one, and Arsenal fans can only hope for better things to come.
Well, now it's good that you've brought the conversation of Raya and Ramsdale, and is the next thing on the lineup. That's what I wanted you to have a bite on before you go. Raya or Ramsdale? Who are you picking?
This is quite a tough one.
So this reminds me of a tweet. I think about some 5-6 years ago when Pedro signed for Chelsea, and then there was a Chelsea fan who said having Pedro is like having two Hazards. So having Raya is like having two Ramsdales. Yeah? But who are you choosing? I mean, just pick one. If I gave you an opportunity to start one of the goalkeepers, who are you starting?
I would say Raya for now, but I'm not fully convinced. I think today he's also had his fair share of, concessions, because prior to that he kept 2 clean sheets. People were hoping that it could continue, but it didn't. When it came to the 2 games that we've observed him, you would notice that the players seem a lot more comfortable with Raya in the post. Ramsdale has a tendency to make some decisions that are quite questionable, but it's worked well. We've managed to sail through here and there, but sustainability is very key. When you listen to Arteta and some of the pressers, you get a sense that he's not giving much away. People were thinking that this game was going to be a decider of who he chooses, but looking at Raya not being able to keep a clean sheet, the game against Tottenham ended 2-2. So again, it's looking like at this point it could well be anybody's game, but for the previous 3 games, it's Raya that has been starting. I don't think Arteta can do the thing where, I'll start Raya today, I'll start Ramsdale tomorrow. That doesn't work.
You can do
it doesn't. It won't work. Yeah,
Kelvin,
it won't work. He needs to
Raya
have
or
a starter.
Ramsdale?
I prefer Ramsdale. I detest the whole thing of goalkeeper. Yeah, I detest the whole thing of goalkeepers being able to play from the back and with their feet. What is the core duty of a goalkeeper?
Onana, are you talking about Onana?
Yes,
Is it Onana?
yes, he's also part. No, sincerely, what's the core duty of a goalkeeper? It's for you to
You are
stop
not a
shots.
defender. You are not a midfielder. Stay at the back.
You are
and do
the
what you're
only
supposed
member on the pitch privileged to handle the ball with both limbs, your feet and then your hands.
Yeah.
So why is it that quality of having a goalkeeper who can play from the and so what? So that is why you should get comfortable central defenders who can play as liberos.
Yeah.
And for me, today we watched the Raya that they've been making noise about.
Yeah.
He gives so many long balls away. There are times I see Ramsdale picking up on Martinelli and Bukayo Saka very well. But Ramsdale gave Raya gave so many away. And for me, I think there was no point in bringing Raya to Arsenal to come sit up. It's not like he's coming from a Real Madrid or he's a former Barcelona goalkeeper or a former Manchester United or
from Brentford.
FC Brentford.
Yeah.
Look at that. To see him as an upgrade over Ramsdale. I don't think so. And one thing that I think Ramsdale was even doing better is the charge for certain games. If it was Ramsdale in this particular game, that ball that was given by Jorginho wouldn't have gone. He understands the dynamics of the British game much more than Raya would do. But just as Arsenal is dominated by Spanish coaches now, Inaki Kana Pavon is a Spanish coach, goalkeepers coach, former goalkeeper, and then he had been training Raya back at Brentford before joining Arsenal.
Yeah.
So it's more like, let's bring a goalkeeper that we are more comfortable with. This is not the first time Arteta is doing it.
Well,
it happened to Ben Leno.
Well, Kelvin, my producer reliably informs me that on every segment, like if you compare the 2 goalkeepers, Raya is ahead of Ramsdale. So then
Where Raya is ahead? What has he done to be ahead? No, what has he done to be ahead? On what?
I think the sample size is pretty small, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or what is the comparison from his days at Brentford?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the from last season all through this season. Yeah.
But this is a goalkeeper who kept the post to lift you to second on the table. And we all saw his performance.
Yeah.
We all saw his charge. When Ramsdale got to Arsenal, we all saw the game where he kept the post when Ben Leno wasn't available, injured.
Yeah.
And since then, he made the goal post his own.
Yeah.
I don't think he has committed so many howlers to be just pushed out of the goalpost. For me, I think Ramsdale should be in post for.
Some of the things that he did is the reason we didn't win the league.
Which
That game
things?
against Southampton, I thought.
Yeah.
So
I thought he could have.
let's be real when it comes to that. Let's
So
be
the
real when it comes
chances
to
the
that.
chances that Gabriel Jesus and the rest missed equally could have sent Arsenal to the championship. So
I'm not arguing that.
Exactly. You see, that is why I love Sir Alex Ferguson. He had Bates and he was still winning the league.
What do you mean by that?
We all know Fabien Bates. He's the goalkeeper who caused you all the havoc in the world. Arsenal has Jens Lehmann. Tell me how many times Jens Lehmann kept the post and committed howlers. But the invincible team, he was in there.
Yeah.
But I think yeah.
It's all about having a very good defense and a system that would suit your play.
Yeah.
Not complain about goalkeepers. Did Ramsdale tell Jorginho to lose the ball today?
No,
or did he tell last season? Did he tell Gabriel to lose the ball for opponents Man City to score us? No.
I think it's a case of evolution, and perhaps where Arteta sees his team in the next
evolution.
2
Am you
because now that one is retrogression. It's not a revolution.
Arteta, yeah, he's learned a lot under Pep, and if there's anything, we know how ruthless Pep is, especially in the goalkeeping department. Joe Hart, Claudio Bravo, we all saw them have their share of it. Even Edison had a bit of a warning with the signing of Ortega coming in from the Bundesliga, where I thought that sort of was the kick in his butt to reach the levels that everyone knew he was capable of doing. So I'm on more of the side. I agree with Arteta. I think for a long time now, the goalkeeping role has been overlooked in the sense that everyone always thinks you can have a good squad, but there's always that fear that you can't have two good goalkeepers. Yeah. Where you need to have 2 good right backs in case someone gets injured, but no one really makes that case for goalkeepers. So it's almost as if you just need one good one, some other old one who wouldn't complain for minutes, and then some academy one. Yeah. But maybe this is the next level of football. This could be an evolution in terms of a tactical landscape for the game where you have 2 very good goalkeepers who can come in any day and put up a good shift, understand the system, and can execute. You're looking at someone like Man City with Ortega. Ortega came in FA Cup final. You couldn't even tell a difference. Edison comes in number 1. Both of them keep each other on their toes. And then you're seeing Arsenal invest heavily in Raya, although I think Ramsdale was fine. This sort of competition perhaps could be the next level, where for someone like Onana, he knows that no matter how many mistakes he makes, he'll still be the number 1 goalkeeper at Manchester United. It will take something really dramatic, because the next goalkeeper in line, he knows he's about 3 tiers below him. Yeah. And there's no way the coach will give him that chance. Yeah. So, I understand the reasoning, and I for one thought that Arsenal would never take the amount of money to buy Raya for him to just come and sit on the bench. It was to give him a real chance. And the unfortunate thing about a goalkeeper is that for a team like Arsenal, Ramsdale will probably come in on Tuesday or Wednesday or midweek when they play against Brentford in the Cup. Let's say Arsenal dominates, they keep a clean sheet, Ramsdale is not tested. Yeah, nothing dramatic. Raya comes back because you've not done it. It's difficult for a goalkeeper to really do it. Unlike a striker where you can come and force your way, you get 5 minutes, you score your goal, you get a chance. Yeah, goalkeepers don't get that. And so that's the other side about the competition, where it's a bit unfair because Raya is getting the minutes now and Ramsdale is on the outside. He's not really going to get a chance. It's not like a player where they can sub you in on 60th minute, 70th minute, you get 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Maybe that could be the next level. We could see Arteta doing that. But yeah, that's the other side of it. It's never a balanced competition because the other player barely gets a look in. It's not unfortunate for Ramsdale because now, one, he's under the microscope. Even today, when he was celebrating a save by Raya, the camera was right on him. Number 2, the Euros is coming, and I thought he was in a good moment with regards to the England number 1 dynamic, where I thought
to displace Pickford.
Not really displace him, but in terms of getting close, I think between Pickford, Pope, and Ramsdale, it was getting closer. And another good season from Ramsdale could have made a case for him, especially heading into the Euros. Now, if he's not constant, I wonder what that does to him, not just with this Arsenal future, but also
let's just take a little detour. Pickford, Ramsdale, Pope. Yeah. Who are you starting if you are Southgate?
If I'm England, the thing about England is Southgate is a completely different coach, and
I'm talking about you.
You see, Orico always won't take passing time. Answer the question: who are you starting?
I'm talking about you. Who are you starting among the 3?
The only question I can answer directly is Mediama, but I think I'll. It's tough, It's tough. Pope is not too good with his feet. Pickford is not bad with his feet, but I think he's too error prone and has moments of madness. So Ramsdale is probably the most
Ramsdale.
He's probably the most balanced. And if this was last season, I'll easily say Ramsdale. But now he's not keeping and not active. I wonder whether that would change things for me and for Southgate as well.
But is it decided that he's not active?
No, but I mean,
that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. I mean, Raya is in
what is he going to do from the outside?
And you prefer Raya. So what are you complaining about?
Unless Raya makes mistakes in like 2-3 matches. Yeah,
exactly. I mean,
and today he showed glimpses of how he can delay with wrong passing and cost the team.
But there were some good saves in there as well.
Is that?
Some good saves.
Oh, these are normal saves.
These are normal saves. I mean,
I thought the Johnson one was really good. You're coming from outside.
Yeah, that was the only one. That was the only one it was really tested. Yeah, so it's not easy.
Next week we'll discuss on that.
agenda the B.
Yeah.
We'll discuss Onana.
Well, yeah, is the host. Waiting you love. Me.
Oh, no, I mean,
I love.
no. I don't.
Wait.
You see, the thing is that me, I honestly don't think that United needed David De Gea. You understand? And maybe Onana hasn't quite settled in yet. I mean, he hasn't settled.
Oh,
in
he will
yet, actually.
settle.
But I'm just looking to see what he does
version
because
2.0.
to be very honest with you, I was just tired of De Gea. De Gea just had to go. It was just it for me, and that was it.
But I mean,
Onana is here
to be
and-
fair
and
to
that's it.
Onana, he's not had that constant back four in front of him. I thought
you.
last season United's defense was one of their strong points.
Thank you.
If Shaw, Martinez, Varane, Wan-Bissaka,
And
everyone
David
is
De Gea
fit.
still made mistakes.
Yeah, I think-
that
yeah.
cost us games.
If
So, yeah.
the United backline come back, everyone is fit, Casemiro ahead of them, they'll probably concede less chances.
We'll see.
like they are
We'll
right
see.
now.
We'll see. Gabi's coming. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, he
You-
did.
You the way your mouth hard. It will be hard throughout the
Make it come
season.
out there. No.
It will be hard
No, no,
throughout
no,
the
no,
season.
By April, I'll just.
Oh, we'll be here. We'll
calm
be here.
down.
No, don't calm down. Keep it. Keep going. Keep
doing
fighting.
it. You started it.
So this is still Sports Ultras right here on 3FM 92.7. Join the conversation. Send us your messages, your comments on Twitter, on Facebook. Hashtag Sports Ultras right here on 3FM 92.7. And we'll be bringing you just the conversation
Sports
that you need
Ultras.
right
Sports
here
Ultras.
on the show. It's an exciting conversation. Aniela is here, Kelvin is here, and also Ore Kwampofo is
3
here,
Sports.
right here in the studio. But we just need to go into other matters. Now, Kelvin, the matter that's on the table now, I mean, we will go into the Premier League games, but the matter on the table now is Julian Nagelsmann is now Germany coach.
Yeah.
What is this about?
Well, yeah, I think they've really struggled since they won the World Cup with the manager Joachim Low, and you know, Hansi Flick was the assistant then. Many expected him to have just continued after him, but he decided to take over the FC Bayern Munich job, and then he really excelled at the FC Bayern Munich job. Now he took over the national team, and it was more like it was club football for him. I don't know where his national team principles as assistant for during Joachim Low's time went, and it was just a total deviation from
3
the same
Sports.
principles that they used to win the World Cup back in 2014 and their dominant performance even in the Euros in 2016. Unfortunately, they had to lose to France, who were very strong then. I think Germany have a great pool of talent, but they are not at that top level.
Yeah.
They need a manager who would understand these players and then bring them up to the levels and that bring that confidence in them. Looking at all the managers that they have, I think the best solution for them is Nagelsmann.
At this point.
Judging from where he picked that RB Leipzig team and worked with the players.
Yeah.
Even though he had some experienced lads in there, he still worked with arguably unknown talents or players who had the potential but did not have that high profile name to live up to the billing before joining FC Bayern Munich. And I think it's the same thing that the DFB have realized. And their sporting director now, Bielf is no more. Now it's Vola, who is much more experienced. And we saw how he played against France. He virtually used a very youthful side to play against France. And you could see how he wants Germany to play. The old Germany that we used to see, efficient and effective, much more direct. And I think that is what he would want to use Nagelsmann to do, to use these young lads and then bring all their potential together to form a very strong side that can at least start from the Euros, which they are hosting next year. Right. Nagelsmann has everything it takes to be a very good coach. Even at Bayern Munich, we all know the inside politics. He was still on top of the table, doing well in the Champions League, doing well in the Cup until the Bussier 4 from Chelsea took over. Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very good call for the Germans. The DFB will be proud of it, but he has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Germany are not blessed with too many good defensive players unlike years ago.
Yeah.
But they have an excellent pool of talent when it comes to the attack, which I think they can probably hinge on that to excel. But even with that, Germany played, and then they had someone like Mario Gomez up front. They had Miroslav Klose. They have Oliver Neville. They had players that you could bank your hopes on that they would just come on and then score.
Yeah.
But ask yourself, do they have it?
Yeah.
Now they have to rely on someone like Fulkrog, and then Timo Werner is not even getting Kai Havertz.
Yeah.
Come on. And that is where I think their problem is. If he's able to work his way around which players can work for him. And talking about Timo Werner, he's the one who made Timo Werner the Timo Werner that Chelsea bought, and then they messed him up. Chelsea for they say at the CFO,
that's true.
Yeah, almost saying no. So good for him, good for Germany, and I think he can do a decent job going into the European Championship.
Anela, give me just a minute on Julian Nagelsmann, and then I'll come to Riku on what is really happening with Chelsea Football Club.
I think
so Nagelsmann.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. I think that is going to be a challenge for him, but he has proven why he should be there, and so we just live to see what he's going to do. But with a set of players that he has, save a few names I choose not to mention.
Yeah.
It should be a good crop for him to work with. So all the best to him.
Yeah, but one is in your team.
Yeah, that's why that's the name I did not want to mention.
It's not a good crop to work with.
But where did he come from? Blame them.
Anyway, if you're a Chelsea fan and you're listening to us, I'm sure Chelsea fans try to play it down and say they're not worried and they're fine and it's a project. But I mean, if you look at what is happening at the moment and just how the team
it's nothing happening at the moment.
It's not good enough. And for a player like Enzo Fernandez to have a win percentage below 10% is incredibly sad. Oriku, what is happening at Chelsea? Chelsea fans want to hear you. Give me a submission in about 3 minutes.
First off, I think this is embarrassing. And this is not what Chelsea Football Club stands for. For Chelsea, there was a point where the club was synonymous with winning. Not just winning games, but winning trophies.
Are you doing a memorial lecture? Is he doing a memorial lecture?
Now Chelsea struggle to win games. Since Potter was sacked last season for the lack of wins, we've had just 2 Premier League wins. Think about it. We've had just 2 Premier League wins. This isn't the standard of... Look, we can go ahead and talk about project, players being young. I can give you everything. But at the end of the day, you have to win games. Even Everton are winning games. Look, every team is winning. The bottom line...
Allow him.
Is that you need to win at Chelsea. That's what the fans are used to. That's what everyone is used to. That's how come Chelsea have become what they are in such a short period and are rubbing shoulders with some of the big clubs. It's rather unfortunate how deep this club has sunk. But the longer this goes on, the more I fear. Because now you are in a situation where you've admitted that you can't really fix it short term because you've invested around 1 billion in a year. If that isn't short term fix, I don't know what that is. And even after that, you're still struggling for a win in the league. Then you admit that, okay, we would need time to fix this. But the thing about this is that you're working with players, human beings, fans. There's pressure. The more you go without winning, the more difficult it becomes to win because there's pressure from the fans. The coach gets confused, feels that he needs to change stuff. The players lose motivation eventually and lose confidence. And now it becomes a whole circus where Chelsea are just not able to pick up points on the board. And this is a team that finished outside the top 10 last season. Everyone thought with the bare minimum, you should be able to improve on that. Chelsea finishing the first half of the table shouldn't be a problem. Now, new season, 6 games, and Chelsea are closer to the bottom than to the top. Once again, they're in similar territory around mid-table, getting to the bottom. And you start to wonder, is this the new true level of Chelsea? Is it time for fans to truly admit that this is how far the club has sunk? And so expectations need to be limited now. Because the truth is, if you look at the caliber of teams that Chelsea has faced and what they have to show for in terms of points, and you look at what's ahead in terms of fixtures, by any projections, there's absolutely no way Chelsea will be above 13th place by December. Because the tougher fixtures are now coming.
Right.
And they're not going to magically start playing well and start scoring goals. In fact, it's only going to get worse because in the next match, Malo Gusto, who is in for the injured Rich James, has picked up a red card and will now miss a couple of games. Nicholas Jackson, striker who came in and was supposed to deliver and bring in goals, has now been suspended and would also be missing the next match.
Right.
There's so many issues around, and it's confusing because just about a couple of months ago, this team was playing very well in the Premier League series. That's the one that happened in the US for the preseason.
Yeah.
They went through the whole of preseason unbeaten. Were scoring goals for fun. Fine, I admit, Nkunku's injury could have taken a toll on the team and the tactics. But that is why a coach is paid so much to be able to find solutions.
Yes.
And you can't tell me it's not because of Nkunku that we can't beat Bournemouth, that we can't beat Aston Villa at home, that we can't beat Nottingham Forest at home. It is not acceptable. And I think that's where the blame goes to the coach, where once again, it's almost like the problems from this last season where players are not being played in their best positions. It's all being a bit too slow and lethargic. Chelsea are not creating enough chances. They are not sustaining pressure. They're not taking care of the ball enough. They're allowing too many shots, too many chances for their opponent. And that's the fear. That is the same problems from last year that are coming in. For me, I think where we got it wrong was the definition of the transition. Yeah. Everyone admitted that Chelsea needed to go through a transition. Now, the mistake that they made was that whenever you're going through a transition, you need to be able to keep a part of the squad, what I define as the soul. Roberto De Zerbi always says that you can come and buy all his players, but the soul will still be there.
Yeah.
For Chelsea, I think we lost our soul.
Yeah.
You look at the starting 11 today, maybe apart from Thiago Silva, I don't think any of them truly understand what it means to play for Chelsea.
Yeah.
We don't have players who've been at the club for 5, 6, 10 years, have that winning culture ingrained in them, understand what it means to play at Stamford Bridge, understand what it means to lose and what the club means for the fans. None of them. Palmer, Enzo, Jackson, Sterling, even to some extent. All of these guys are new to the situation, and everyone is trying to adapt, trying to get used to the situation. The coach is new, and everyone is trying to hold their whole hands together, and that is weakening the collective effort. We don't have a core, we don't have a soul. The players, as a result, are not giving off their best.
Right.
And because there's that excuse attached to some of them that, oh, I'm a young player, I was bought raw, I need time to adapt. That's been the message from beginning. Pochettino is always preaching to them. Nicholas Jackson is young, he's getting into the Premier League, so there's no pressure. Erling Haaland came to the Premier League, and within his first 10 games, he had scored more than 10 goals, and they were still saying he was making City worse. That's the pressure that comes with a big money signing, a superstar that knows that he needs to hit the ground running. Even when he's scoring, they are saying he's the problem. Jackson has more in fact, double the number of yellow cards, and he still doesn't have the number of goals that if you slash his yellow cards by 2, he still doesn't have goals reaching that tally. And there's no pressure. He doesn't feel like he needs to score. And you can see it in his game. He misses a chance and he's okay. You're looking at Mudryk, who has been around for a long time, also doesn't feel like he needs to take the game by the scruff of the neck and make something happen because, yes, he's always been protected around. Oh, yeah, he's raw, he's trying to settle. And I feel that's the case for too many of these players. They said that they didn't go and buy Kudus because they were going to buy a more experienced player. That was supposed to be the secret signing that would turn things around for Chelsea. They bought Cole Palmer, a player without a Premier League goal, a player with less than 10 Premier League starts. That was the experienced player they gave to Pochettino to transform the team. I think it's just bad decisions upon bad decisions upon bad decisions. And you know what they say? When you make so many bad decisions, they will only meet you. And unfortunately, it's that time where we've reached a point where we're starting to bear the consequences. And it's going to happen for a long time. Chelsea are not going to have a good season, you can tell. And goodness knows how long this would last. Maybe it could be another banter period like we saw with Liverpool and with Arsenal, where they all had their periods where they were struggling to even get into the top 4, top 5, top 6. Maybe it's time for Chelsea. And it's a humbling period. And I mean, it's difficult for the fans, but it is necessary for the team, the owners, everyone to understand that there's no shortcut to heaven.
I like that. There's really no shortcut to heaven. You can spend 1 billion, but I mean you still have to go through the chops of it, and it's going to be really, really hard. And that also comes to the idea of having money and how to spend your money as well. But let me just update you at the moment. The Madrid derby has already begun, and under 5 minutes, Alvaro Morata has put the ball behind the net, and Real Madrid are down. It's Atletico Madrid 1, Real Madrid 0. Alvaro Morata scoring in the 4th minute of the game. This is why we love derbies across the world. Madrid conversation brings us to the La Liga, and we are entering it at the moment there. And yesterday, Barcelona, what a performance from them. Kelvin, have your bite on Barcelona. They beat Celta de Vigo by 3-2, and at some point we were watching the game together, and you realized just how many chances Celta were missing, and Barcelona just took advantage.
I've always spoken about football, and if you profligate, you are always going to be punished for the chances that you miss. And Barcelona knew exactly where they were coming from. You know, you looked at the Celta Vigo team, and someone, or the only person who seemed like he wanted to get more goals was Iago Aspas. The rest were like, no, this is a game that we are comfortably leading by a goal to nil. They got the second goal, and they felt that was it. But that was a very fantastic turnaround from FC Barcelona. I think Xavi, after going down by 2, just told his men to just allow their individual brilliance come to bear, and it was fantastic from what we saw from João Cancelo and Robert Lewandowski. I think Barcelona have really made some pretty good signing to add up to the team that Xavi built from last season, and I think many are overlooking the strength that this Barca team possesses. It's not just about how they play. It's about their spirit, the spirit that they deploy in games. And yesterday, for many teams, or if it was the Barcelona of old, even under Ernesto Valverde or Luis Enrique, I'm not sure they would have been able to come back strongly in the final 10 minutes of the game to win the game by defeating Celta Vigo 3-2. But I think Celta Vigo would always have themselves to blame for not allowing the game to even end in a draw. If you concede in the 81st minute, I don't see how you allow 2 more goals in a game which you were in overly dominant display, and Barcelona were chasing the game
in a space of 8 minutes. They
got all the 3 goals, and then it was just a very poor turnaround for Celta Vigo. Hopefully, yes, the season is very young, but if it continues this way, it dampens the spirit of the team, and you ask yourself, where are we going on from here? But for FC Barcelona, this is a great start for them. João Cancelo and then João Felix hitting the ground running with very good goals and excellent and brilliant performances. This has also brought into life the mojo of Robert Lewandowski. He did his bit last season, but if you know that you have this amount of quality adding up to your game each and every single minute that you play, it keeps you at that high or top level of giving your best. And I think it's great. Barca should be a team that many of the clubs in the La Liga should watch out. And even for the UEFA Champions League, maybe would have to take the brilliance of the likes of Real Madrid and then maybe Manchester City to just tame them. But from what I am seeing from them, it will be difficult for some of the team to rub shoulders against them.
Most definitely. Oriko, I'll get back to you, and we'll be talking about something really interesting. But let's take a break here on Sports Ultras. We're back shortly.
Sports Ultras.
Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays will never be the same with Betway. Get cash rewards, free bets, free spins, and more with deposits on Top Up Tuesdays. Log in on Fridays for a chance to get free bets, free spins, and more. And every Saturday, get boosted odds across the most popular bet types on the weekend's big fixture. Get way more at betway.com.gh. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Terms and conditions apply. Betway. Get way more.
Sports Ultras. Sports Ultras. 3 Sports.
Right, so we're back here on Sports Ultras. My name is Yao Ofosula. I've been moderating the show in place of your regular host, Thierry Nyan. We are just about a few minutes to get out of the studios, but you can still send your messages in. We'll be reading out your messages pretty shortly. But we're talking about the La Liga. And as I mentioned earlier, Atletico Madrid leading Real Madrid by 1-0. Real Betis also drawing 1-1 with Cadiz. And that game ended about an hour ago in that one as well. And then there was also Las Palmas who took on Granada. They beat them by 1-0. Rayo Vallecano also took on Villarreal. It was 1-1. And then Real Sociedad beat Getafe by 4-3. And Ureku, that brings me to this conversation. Now, Getafe made so much noise about Mason Greenwood. And after signing him and getting him on and all of that. And already he's played 2 games and the impact hasn't been quite what Getafe would actually really want, and he's not started a game actually. He's just come on as a substitute for 2 games. But from the way the pomp and pageantry around his arrival went, you'd expect that he would have scored a few goals now.
Well, I think for Mason, it's a tough situation to find yourself because even aside the fact that I think he's not fit. He's coming into a country where he knows absolutely no one, doesn't speak the language, grew up learning football in a certain way at the Manchester United Academy, and now he is under one of the most defensive coaches in world football. And the way Getafe play as a forward, it takes time to kind of tune you into the way they play because they don't have a lot of possession of the ball, especially when they face the big sides. But I think it's a process that will take a lot of time because aside what I've mentioned earlier, there's also the case where you have to remind yourself that he's not played active professional football in more than a year. In fact, it stretches way more than a year, where the only type of training that he's had is individual training, and that can never be compared to the competitiveness and the intensity of a real game. And so for me, I think this is the first preseason he's having in about 2 years. And it will take a lot of time for him to get back to the levels that he was. Right. You can see how much of muscle mass that he's lost, comparing his current pictures to the ones that he had of old. And he needs to work on his muscle mass. He needs to work on his running power. He needs to work on his stamina and even decision making, because the best players on the ball, even them without going 2 years without football, would make them lose a lot, some bit of sharpness. And so it would take time. And the thing about it is that, unfortunately, in a normal preseason setting where things are much slower and it's easier to adapt and pick up, he's been dropped into the deep where Getafe have to win games because they are always in a relegation battle or they need to survive. And so this is a team that are playing to win, playing with tough oppositions who also want to win. And so it's not necessarily the best environment for him to be getting his preseason. But I think with the amount of raw talent that he has, that should be able to sort of, cover up for the lack of sharpness, and I think that would cut the deficit. And so he may not need as much time as a regular player. I think he's still one of the most talented players I've seen in the past 5 years. And if he constantly keeps on playing, I think in 6-7 months he should be hitting somewhere around 3rd gear, which should be enough to see some level of impact at Getafe for the second half of the season.
Right, definitely. Let's head on now to some more and straight to the La Liga, the Italian Serie A, I beg your pardon, because Empoli took on Inter Milan. Inter beat them by 1-0. Federico Di Marco putting that ball behind the net there for Inter. Atalanta also took on Cagliari. They beat them by 2-0. And then Udinese also, they also took on Fiorentina. Fiorentina beating them also by 2-0. The Atalanta goals, among them is Ademola Lookman, who put the ball behind the net as well. Napoli drawing 0-0 with Bologna. Torino taking on Roma right at this moment. Kelvin, Napoli, what's really happening with Napoli? I mean, this season they've started really flat.
It's a bit of a surprise for me, and I don't seem to get it, especially when you haven't sold any of your top guys or the spine of the team. Kvaratskhelia is still there. There's Victor Osimhen. All those players are still there. Zambo Anguissa and the rest. So why are they struggling to win games? And I think it's all about the way and manner that they set up last season. Every time he set up, and that has been the style of Pep that works for him. He sets up in a certain way this season. Then the following season, he tweaks the system a little bit such that it becomes difficult for you to just stick so glued to them. And it was what happened to them last season when Erling Haaland came in. They were playing to the tune of a striker in the shape of, let's say, Sergio Aguero leading the attack without Erling Haaland in there, or maybe Gabriel Jesus leading the attack. But once they realized that this is someone who is always ready for goals and doesn't care too much about having too much of the play, they tweaked their system to suit him. There was no Fernandinho. They had a Rodri who wanted to go more into attack. So they allowed Ilkay Gundogan to stay. Rodri makes more advancement, and then Gundogan controls the play from deeper lines. I think that is what needs to change at Napoli. Other than that, it's always going to be difficult. You look at the game and the chances being created or the goal scoring opportunities and the same, or it's a bit of like one less than they used to produce. And I think that has been their bane. And now teams knowing that, yes, as devastating as Napoli can be, why don't we just get ourselves in our shells? If we get a draw against Napoli, it means that, yes, we are good to go. We get any other team open up and then get a good result, and then we'll be getting some very good points to stay in the league. Now, there's Rudy Garcia, and he's one of the managers that I still think hasn't been able to really live up to his potential. He spells all the promise around him, but anytime he's given a top job to continue getting the best results out of it, he fumbles. And it's exactly the same thing with Napoli. If they fail to replace Spalletti in the right way, it's going to be difficult for them to be getting to the top now. Now they are 7 points adrift to the top.
Yeah.
International have shot 15 points. Napoli now just have 8 points from 5 games this season. It tells them that they have a very long way to go. You haven't even met Inter Milan, you haven't played AC Milan, you haven't played Juventus, you haven't played the top guy, and you've started dropping points and you are 7 points away now. It tells me that it's going to be a very long season for them, and then they should probably be playing for the UEFA Champions League and then looking at getting some better manager to take over the team, because if it's going to be the same Rudy Garcia that we know, I'm not sure they'll be able to win or retain their title.
Oh, tough one there for Napoli at the moment there. But now let's move on to the French League. And right at this moment there, and it's actually a really big game in France at the moment. It's La Classique, which is PSG taking on Olympique Marseille. For PSG leading already by 1-0. Kylian Mbappe has been... Kylian Mbappe has walked off in the 33rd minute of the game, only to be replaced by Goncalo Ramos. And let me just take you through the lineup, because Gianluigi Donnarumma is in there, Achraf Hakimi, Marquinhos, Milan Skriniar, and Lucas Hernandez. In midfield, there's Warren Zaire-Emery and Manuel Ugarte. And then Ousmane Dembele, Bradley Barcola, and Kylian Mbappe. Randall Colomwani is also in attack there for them. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Victor Carvalho are starting for Olympique de Marseille. And Renan Lodi, Jordan Verretou, Valentin Rongier, Azedine Onahi, Jonathan Klaus, and Leonardo Baledi, Samuel Gigot, Chancel Mbemba, and Paul Lopez. Those are the lineups there for you in La Classique. But Achraf Hakimi has already put it's already 2 goals now, and 2-0 for PSG in there. And also 2 goals also for Atletico Madrid. They have also putting Real Madrid to the sword at the Wanda Metropolitano, and it's a huge fixture that is coming in there. Antoine Griezmann adding the second one in there.
What is happening? Wasn't this the same Atletico Madrid team that lost 3 to Valencia last week, and they missed 2 penalties?
Look, Real Madrid have been walking on a very thin line this season. I don't think they've had a great game. They've been winning, but I think maybe apart from the Bilbao Athletic Club win, where it was a bit more comfortable, every game they've needed a Bellingham touch in the final minute or his last minute goal. The match we watched against Union Berlin was very typical of their season so far, where I don't think they've done enough in games. They don't sustain pressure, they don't keep the ball well, and it was only a matter of time before they were found out. I think playing Bellingham up front as a centre forward kind of limits his game. Although he may get on the score sheets, I think he can impact the game a lot more when he's deeper. And today they're being served.
He's playing so many players who would want to hold on to the ball for very long. Bellingham does same, Rodrigo does same, Luka Modric does same, and then you have Toni Kroos who do same, Eduardo Camavinga does same. So you look at 5 players who like to hold on to the ball. It clearly tells me that your game is not going to be fluid, and you are playing against an Atletico Madrid team who would constantly press you, and some of these players are press trigger. You don't expect Modric to be in his elements like he used to 4 or 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago, and I think that has been the problem. If Ancelotti doesn't find a solution to that attacking position, it's going to be difficult for him. It clearly tells you that there is no trust in Joselu. Why then do you invest money in bringing him to the Bernabeu?
Well, let's get into the predictor and see what happened and whether we got our predictions right, and also our predictions for next week in the predictor. Bill Lishen says AC Milan 2, Newcastle 1.
You pray no goals.
PSG
Hey, correct
2.
score.
Billy, me feel it. Bayern 2, Man United 0, and also you got it right, but the score is not correct. But Marseille and Ajax ending 3-1.
Nope.
That was Bellino's call. That also did not work out. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. That also did not work out. I mean, how many in total? 1.
I think you got 1. correct?
1. Oh, Bill. 1 or 2?
He got 2.
Okay, he got 2.
That is a PSG, and then
and 1 is a correct score.
Yes, the Bayern Munich.
Right.
The Bayern Munich game.
So Thierry also says AC Milan 3, Newcastle 1.
Wrong.
That did not happen. PSG 2, Dortmund 0 is
Correct
correct
score.
score. Bayern 3,
Hey.
Man United 1.
Correct.
Is correct, but not correct score. Ajax 1, Marseille
Correct.
1 is correct. And Arsenal 2,
Correct score.
Tottenham 2, correct score.
Wow,
I mean,
4 over
impressive.
5.
4 over 5 and 2
2 correct scores, yeah.
Nice.
Exactly. Ori Kwampofu says
I carried it.
AC Milan 2, Newcastle 1. That's wrong. PSG 3, Dortmund 1. And they won actually. PSG won. Bayern 3, Man United 0. Bayern also won. Marseille 2, Ajax 1. And then Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. Ori could just call yourself.
I think 2.
Also, Aniela says AC Milan 2, Newcastle 1. That was wrong. PSG 1, Dortmund 0. Also wrong. Bayern 1, Man United 0. And Bayern won, but the score is not correct. Ajax 2, Marseille 1. Also, it didn't work out. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. That also
the
did
two
not
plenty
work out.
this week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
exactly.
average score, 2 over 5.
2 over 5. Anyway, I predicted AC Milan 3, Newcastle 1. That did not work out.
Correct.
PSG 3-1. Correct. Bayern 2-1. That's also correct. Ajax 2-2. Marseille.
Correct.
Correct. And Tottenham 3, Arsenal 2. That did not work out. I mean,
So 3 over 5.
yeah, 3 over 5.
Above average.
Yeah.
Kelvin.
Says
You only have some
yeah,
the AC Milan
you got the
match
AC Milan match
correct.
correct. Yeah. So Kelvin says AC Milan 2, Newcastle United 2, and PSG 4, Dortmund 2, Bayern 3, United 1, Ajax 2, Marseille 1, and Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1. So that's
wasn't for judging him.
yeah. So that's 3. That's 3 over
Above
5.
average.
That's 3 over 5. Anyway, so predictions for next week. Oreku says Man United 2, Crystal Palace 1, and then Newcastle United 3, Man City 1.
Hey,
Oreku,
Carabao Cup. I think City will rest players.
you think so?
Yeah.
Anyway, Chelsea 1, Brighton 2.
Hey, still shy. You know they predict give
Can you
themselves.
imagine?
Not even a draw.
Anyway, he says Brentford 2, Arsenal 1. Wow, that's
Hey,
I
that's
think Arsenal
bold.
also rest players.
Okay. And then Tottenham 3, Liverpool 3. We'll see how that goes for Oreku. Aniela says United 1, Crystal Palace 1, and Man City 2, Newcastle United 1, Brighton 1, Chelsea 0, Arsenal 2, Brentford 1, and then Liverpool 2, Tottenham 1. That's Aniela's predictions. And Kelvin says Man United 1, Crystal Palace 1, Man City 3, Newcastle United 1, Brighton 2, Chelsea 1, and then
Pochettino.
Arsenal 3, Brentford 1, and Liverpool 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Bill says Crystal Palace 1, Man United 0, Newcastle United and Man City would end 1-1. Brighton will beat Chelsea by 2-0. Arsenal will beat Brentford by 3-1, and Tottenham 2, Liverpool 2. Nice. And I predicted Man United 3, Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle United 2, Man City 2, Brighton 3, Chelsea 1, Brentford 2, and Brentford 2, Arsenal 2, and then Tottenham. I expect them to beat Liverpool by 3-2. So that's predictor that has just gone away. And we've not done Charlotte in a while. Who has been your Charlotte this week?
That's tough.
Be Onana. Be Onana. What the UEFA Champions
Onana has
League?
a clean sheet from today. From
what's the
yesterday.
Champions
From
League?
Burnley.
Champions League. Onana. Yeah.
To Onana.
Yeah,
Are
sure.
you sure?
Onana is Charlotte of the week.
Yeah, me.
Of the week.
Nicola Jackson exists. More yellow cards than goals.
A striker who has had more yellow cards than goals. Charlie,
So it's between Onana and Jackson, right?
Yeah,
No, I think
vote-
Jackson.
I vote
Jackson should take it.
Nicolas Jackson, Charlotte of the week. I mean, the way he's going, he could actually get it every week.
Back
But-
to back.
But we'll see how that goes. But thank you so much for making time with us here on Sports Ultras. We are back next week with another exciting edition of the show. Stay with us on 3FM as well. There are more. There's more coming up tonight on your radio. But thank you to the production team, Prosper Kuzo, to the producer on the day, Billy Shen, Nana Kweku Anderson. Thank you, Aniela Alote, Kelvin, thanks, and also Ore Kwampo for thanks. My name is Yao Fosulabi. Next week, we are back with another exciting edition
Sports Ultras.
of Sports Ultras right here on 3FM 92.7.